At this point in time, I'd like to call the Recreation Advisory Committee meeting to order. And will everyone please stand for the speaking Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Yes. Mr. Sims?
Here.
Mr. Agadello?
Here.
Ms. Webster is not here. Mr. Renzi?
Here.
And Mr. Denise?
Here.
Thank you.
At this point in time, before we commence with the business, I would like to welcome the two new members, Mr. Denise and Mr. Agudelo, to the board. So welcome. At this point in time, has everyone had a chance to read over the minutes? If there are any, I know we have two new members, so I know you guys can just, have you had an opportunity to look over the minutes and see if there are any corrections need to be made from the prior meeting? No. If there's no changes that need to be made, we'll need a motion for approval and a second. Okay.
Vote in favor.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. So all in favor of?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye. At this point in time, we're going to go down to item number 6. It's going to be the, not 6, it's going to be the unfinished business, I should say, item number 7. Item A is the committee members' discussion on adopt the park progress and process. And we have Mr. Renzi, and we have so almost everyone here has a park, so I know there are two new members. We have a program where we adopt the park, and adopt the park is just going to the parks at various times, just looking at the park and see if there's any thing you guys see that could be damaged, or just even to interact with the citizens there that would be within the community, within the park, I should say. It's a program, that there's no high maintenance at all, because you may just browse through there and see something that need to be adhered to, and then if you see anything that needs to be taken care of, we can just contact the city of Sebastian, one of the staff members there, or you may even have a citizen there that may even come and ask you a question about anything. So if you just know a few things that you can just bring to their attention about what you know, if not, then you can just direct them toward the city staff from that standpoint. And the list before you right here, this is a list right here. I'm pretty sure at some point in time you see that some of the parks have already been assigned a person, or that person has volunteered to be a spokesperson for that park. And it's highlighted parks that are in the highlighted yellow. If you know where the parks are at, or just wouldn't mind going and viewing the parks or looking at the parks, you may want to adopt a park, if not two parks. Mr. Agudelo and Mr.
Denise, I would like to just weigh. I would gladly take on the assignment of a park, but I'd like to, examine them first.
Okay, and that's customary too, because we can't give you anything now without you not knowing, because you may not know where the park's at. But again,
one close to the house.
Yes, and again, and that's a good point. It's good to go see where the parks are at, because you may want to volunteer. You may not want to volunteer. So, but at least you'll know, you have a chance to be able to see by the highlighted parks there. I think it's 7 parks, 6 parks, 8 parks that's highlighted. And feel free at some point in time, if you do decide to adopt the park, you can contact city staff.
I didn't know we had a historical park. Where is that, by the way?
Which number is that? Historical park?
12, the historical park. Where is that?
But you I'm not
Yeah,
familiar with it.
it's on Schuman Drive, close to US 1. It's at that park, there's a water fountain, a fountain in the middle of the pond there. It's right just to the east of the railroad tracks, Schuman.
Gotcha. I never knew that name. Would staff like to say anything about this unfinished business?
The only item I would mention is, once the two new members have a chance to go through our parks, if you all would just communicate with me and then with the parks that you would like to choose, and then I can formally document it, so in the next meeting, we'll have it documented which parks you chose. And if any existing members would like to look at the parks that have become available now that Mr. Sunnycab and Mr. Pichelle are no longer members of the board, a few parks that they oversaw are now available. So if you have a few of those that you would like to change, then you could contact me as well.
Okay. So would this be good for, I know at the end of the meeting, we have in the past spoken about our parks. So we can just still wait till the end of, could we still wait until the committee members matters to talk about our parks?
Correct.
Okay.
You would still discuss anything,
Yes.
your findings at committee member comments.
Because this just was for the unfinished, okay, gotcha. So then I'll join with any questions about?
No. Sorry I'm late.
No, you're fine. So the next matter is going to be item B, it's committee member discussion on park improvement for current fiscal year. Would you like to start off the conversation, Mr. Benton?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. To keep everyone updated, we've currently expended $2,827 out of the $20,000 that is budgeted for park improvements. Each one of these zones has been allocated $5,000. So we do have to keep that in mind whenever any projects come forward. If it's not a community park, then it will have to ensure that it doesn't exceed $5,000 within that zone. But we currently have only expended $2,827 of that. So anything you all are noticing that needs immediate attention as far as improvements, because it is a rec impact fund monies that will have to be improvements to the parks that will have to be expended. And it cannot be a maintenance item. Yes.
So it has to be something that is going to improve that park. Nothing, so okay, gotcha.
So you used the last money, it was on the scoreboard, is that correct?
That's correct. The
So it's that- sorry.
$2,827 were on the scoreboard for Barber Street.
And each park has, each park is in a zone, and if any improvements need to take place, it would come from a particular zone.
That's
For that
correct.
particular-
So what we have is, we have zones, each zone has its own funding, and then we have a master rec impact fee for our master parks like Barber Street, Friendship Park, the regional parks like the golf course. Those are regional funds, and those regional funds can be spent only in those regional parks. The individual zones can only be spent in those, but it cannot be for maintenance. It has to be for improvements, upgrades, or new equipment. It can't not be for just changing something out and repairing it, just to be, so everyone's understanding that. That makes sense.
Mr. Renzi, is there any question you have, or
No, I'm good.
any questions?
No.
So at this point in time, we will normally open up the meeting to have public input. If I don't see anyone out there in the audience for public input, so we would bypass that portion. And we go to item number 9, new business, and it's select a chairman and vice chairman, adopt the rules of procedure. So at this point in time, we would like open the board for nominations, or for nomination of the chairman and co-chairman.
Yes, Mr. Chair, if I may, I did receive one nomination from an absent board member via email.
Okay.
And the rules basically state that it's up to the committee to accept that as part of the nominations. So you all can say yes or no if you would like to accept it. And if you accept it, then I'll review what the email contained as far as the nomination from the member.
Okay. That's understandable by all. He said like a email came in to him by a person that's not here today, and they want to give a nomination for that. So you can, I mean, we can have a motion from the floor to accept that, or,
I'll make a motion to accept that. I think that's fair.
okay, we have a second?
Are they nominating themselves or they nominating somebody else?
They're nominating someone else.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to accept the nomination from the email. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
You want to speak a little louder?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye as well.
So the nomination was submitted by Board Member Joanne White, and she is nominating Joanne Webster for Parks and Recreation Chairman, or Chairwoman of the board, and she did not have a vice chair nomination, but it's still open for other nominations for chair, and then that would be up to the board to decide if there's more than one.
Okay. So we have a nomination. Do we have a second?
What's this for now?
Well, the chairperson, oh, well, first of all, I gotta see, are you gonna accept it? Joanne White, she had nominated, so Joanne White, she
I know,
nominated.
I was kind of hoping Joanne White would nominate herself.
But she can't
She
nominate
did not,
herself, right?
No, but
No? So,
I can't nominate her because she's not here.
okay, gotcha. So are there any more nominations from here? And I know you're new, I know you're
No,
new,
I'm not, I'd like to abstain from voting for that and also from a nomination because I'm just not familiar enough with the people, and so that's all right with the chair.
Is he a voting member, or?
Yes.
He is a voting member today with Ms. White's absence.
Okay. And if we need that vote, he has to be able to vote for?
Yes, this is not a conflict, and if I just go through, Robert, through the rules, it's not a conflict. So to abstain from a vote, it has to be a conflict. It has to be a conflict of interest or an ethics that you have to abstain. Abstaining because I don't know the person may not be valid. When you have to fill out the form for why I abstain, because there's a form you have to fill out when you abstain, and abstaining because you're not familiar with the issue may not rise to the level of an ethics or a personal gain issue where abstaining would be valid. So you may have to vote.
Okay.
At this point in time, we have Mr. Denise as a voting member, and then we have Ms. Webster and Mr. Renzi, myself. Okay.
And Mr. Agudello is a voting member, so he's a
I
permanent
apologize.
member.
Yeah, so we're all five voters. Okay, so right now, so that has been cleared, so we're gonna need your vote, because again, it's not a conflict of interest at all, just,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, did you want to do it again?
I'm okay with you. She nominated you, right? But are you willing to accept it? If you're not willing to accept it, then.
Well, what's involved outside of here? I have this job. So there's really, okay. All right, if you don't want to do it.
Oh, okay, like, before we go any further, like, are there any more nominations
I have
from
a
the board member?
nomination. I'd like to nominate Matt Sims as chairman.
And I would like to, not accept, because, I mean, my life has taken a change, so I welcome that nomination, but my life has taken a change. I became married and everything, so.
Okay.
But I'd like to take some more time. I'm still going to be a part of the board, but I'd like to take a back seat, because I may not be able to be here on some Mondays. And I want to make sure that I call in. It won't be too many times to call in. So if Ms. Webster would.
Okay.
So if she accepts her nomination, I'm going to refuse my nomination.
Okay.
I'm going to refuse being nominated. Thank you for that, though.
Okay.
So is there anyone else going to nominate? Okay. If there's no other nomination, we would just. We need a second to the motion. Okay, we need a second. We have Ms. Webster. She accepts the nomination as being nominated as the chairman. So is there a second on the floor?
Second.
Okay. We have a nomination and a second. All in favor of?
Mr. Chairman, point of order, you'll need to close nominations.
Okay.
And then take the vote.
I apologize. We have a nomination for the new chair, and we have a second. At this point in time, if there's no other, we're going to close the floor and have Ms. Webster as the nominated person. All in favor of?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now that we have a chairperson, now we need a nomination from the board members for a co-chairperson.
Can you do that?
Say again?
Can you do that, the vice?
Oh, I don't mind, sir. Yes, I don't mind.
Okay, I'd like to nominate Matt Sims.
So I have been nominated. I'll accept, and is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Not receiving any other nomination, we're going to close the nomination portion of this for the co-chairman, and we need a vote. So all in favor?
Aye.
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 And I accept. So no further ado, we can change seats.
No, you can finish up for tonight. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
That's okay, right?
Thank you. So we took care of that. So now we're going to move on to item number B up on the new business. It's going to be fiscal year 2020 capital improvement project related to the use of the recreation impact fees. So Mr. Benton, would you like to give us an item?
Yes, so this item is an update to our capital improvement projects budget for items that are coming out of recreation impact fees for fiscal year 2019-2020. And we have City Manager, Mr. Paul Carlisle, is here as well tonight to answer any questions that come up during this portion regarding the budget or anything that, and please just remember, this is all preliminary. It has not been approved at this time. It hasn't even gone before discussion with the council and have public meetings, so it all is still preliminary at this point. But I'll give a quick rundown of the 7 items that are budgeted to come out of recreation impact fees. You all inside of in the agenda packet, you have this list as well that was given out to everyone up on Thursday. The first item is park identification signage. This item addresses a need within all of our parks to add some signage within parks that don't have signage. Some parks need signage replaced immediately. Some need to be planned out for future years. And it will provide us an opportunity to make all of our park signage a common theme throughout the city. So when you're riding by, and you'll be able to notice that it's definitely a City of Sebastian park, and we're proud to showcase the parks that we have. Some of the signs will be relocated to different parks within the park. Just for instance, Barber Street Sport Athletic Complex, the signage there is currently parallel to the road, and it has a marquee sign, which when you're riding by it going 30 miles an hour, it's pretty hard to read until you get right up on it. The new reorientation of it will be perpendicular to the road. So that's just one example of some of the changes that will be made within our signage. I went around and drove around with our consultant on this item last week, and they took notes on where all of our signage currently is, GPS numbers and everything, and they're going to come back with recommendations on where we should reposition signs and also the replacement status of signage to give us a plan to take it out in future years. So you'll see we have $25,000 allocated for it next year, and then going forward into the 2 years following that, there's another $25,000 included in that as well, each of those years. And this year we have $100,000 allocated to it, so it'll be continuing to move forward on that with the consultant. The next item is replacing the bleachers at Barber Street for the football fields. That was one of the first needs that I've seen once I got here was, they're in pretty poor shape and they're past repair at this point. So that'll be an item that we budgeted. Baseball dugouts, and then also baseball and softball field fencing. All 4 fields at Barber Street we're proposing to replace the dugouts and address those concerns with some of the safety items there. And then the fencing that goes around from the outfield, or from the dugout around the outfield fencing and then back to the dugout on the other side would be included in that portion as well. Pickleball enhancements, this is basically to kind of get us to the final stages of this project. I'll give you an update on where we are a little bit later in staff comments, but this portion is budgeting for lighting and continuing to landscaping and finish any other needs that we have that was going to be planned for a phase 2. So our plan is we're going to, get the pickleball courts constructed and then immediately start to go into a phase 2 so that we can have these courts lit and have that process formulated within the next fiscal year. And that's where that money is allocated. Playground improvements, this was one item we discussed at the last meeting with the all-inclusive portions of the playgrounds. The first playground that is up to be replaced is George Street. So we've allocated monies there to replace the playground, and we will include some inclusive components to that playground as well within the next budget year. And then we've continued to include the $20,000 for park improvements once again next year for items that come up from the committee as the year goes on. So with that, if there's questions, like I said, we have city manager here or myself, we can answer any questions or comments.
I reserve my questions until the end. So Mr. Renzi, would you have anything?
No, when you talk about George Street, you're talking about the apparatus in the middle of the park? That's going to be totally replaced?
That's correct. The playground that's in the middle of the park at George Street will be replaced.
Okay, good. Yeah, thank you.
I'm excited by your list. I think it's great. I don't really have a lot to say, except I'm really excited about it. I love the changing the park sign at Barber Street and having all the signs the same and the bleachers and at both places in the dugouts. It's just really exciting to see some work getting done at the baseball field and the whole complex up there. So it's really exciting. Thank you.
Denise?
No, I have no comment. I would like to say I've seen the tennis court work done, and I think they did an excellent job on the tennis courts, getting them there, resurfacing them.
Thank you.
Mr. Agudelo?
Yeah, I'd just like to ask more specifically what the improvements to the dugouts at Barber Street would be. And as far as the fence goes, are you talking about the fence in on the 2 300-foot fields or replacing a fence on one of the smaller fields?
Okay. First, to answer your first question, regarding the dugouts, we're going to look to just tear down the existing ones and then build new ones that'll be there that will get a little bit of air moving through those dugouts, but we've got to maintain the security based on Little League standards regarding those dugouts. However, we will replace the entire dugout completely, so they will be torn down completely.
Are you going to put cement concrete on the bottom?
We will maintain the concrete that is currently in the dugouts. There's concrete there now. Yeah, they currently have concrete in them now. The dugouts do.
Okay, good.
So they will have a concrete base.
Good.
And then your second question regarding the fencing, the first 2 fields that will be done will be the Little League fields, fields 1 and 2. And then we did budget, or we've asked for money in the next fiscal year to do fields 3 and 4, which would be the 2 larger fields.
And I could have missed the start date. Has it been a date set aside when, per se, the football bleachers, have they already started the process of replacing those bleachers before the season starts?
So all of these items are budgeted will be budgeted for our next fiscal year, which will go into effect October 1st. So all of these items would be starting, purchasing and that whole process October 1st.
I got you. I apologize for that. So,
He said football.
So for football,
Yeah.
because the football season, well, I understand. So this is for October 1st, because the fiscal year starts October 1st, and then it's going to be for okay, I got you. I understand. I apologize for that. So football season starts, I think, in a couple of weeks. Well, they've already started practicing, but the games don't start until August. So while the season is in progress, will the bleachers be replaced at some point in time, or will it be started?
So we will begin our procurement process with acquiring bids and getting all of that process as of October 1st. That's when the money will be available to us to begin to expend it at that point.
Okay, so at some point in time, the process of completion may be finished before the season, or
So
probably?
more than likely, that they will, this season coming up, I have to go and look at their schedule and see when their end dates are. They could be replaced by the end of their season.
Okay.
But it will be kind of close because I know their season will typically end sometime early to mid-November.
Okay.
But the bleachers that are there now will remain until we replace them.
In football, a lot of people bring their chairs and line them up.
Still, if you have anything new added to that area, it'd be good because it's great. Even so, October 1st in baseball, fall baseball is a fall baseball season. So this
They're going to play fall ball, I heard, so that'll be starting right around then.
that's good. So, I mean, these improvements may go in.
They'll be done for spring,
Yes.
right? Spring season.
Yeah,
Everything.
so what we'll look to do with the baseball improvements is we'll look to do them over the winter break. They'll have their fall season. As long as we can get everything in place and have everything set with the contractors, we would look to do it over the winter break and have it in place prior to their spring season.
Thank you, because I mean, all of this is good news, especially like we know that the pickleball phase is, when it does start, you're going to jump on the second phase too. So that's pretty good. So thank you, staff, for that.
Can I just make one comment?
Yes.
Not to distract from which looks like an outstanding plan for repairing and everything, but in the future, if the opportunity presents itself, I think it would be great to have the basketball courts at the Friendship Tennis can be placed someplace else rather than next to the tennis courts. There's the people that participate in each one of those sports. The vocabulary sometimes is very distracting for one. So I think it would, it's certainly no emergency. It's certainly nothing that should distract from the great job you've done. But if the opportunity arises in the future where there's a suitable place for the basketball, maybe even expand it a little bit, but I think there would be a better place than where it is.
Okay. If it's no further discussion about the new business, then we'll move on to the staff member matters. And then item A is the current projects update.
Yeah, as I've done at each meeting, I just want to provide an update on some of our projects so you all are aware of how things are starting to progress. As Mr. Denise had mentioned, the Schumann Tennis Court project was complete as of June 6th. We opened the courts back up on Saturday, June 8th, a little bit ahead of schedule, and we've received great feedback on the condition of the courts, and the contractor is the contractor that is also going to be building the pickleball courts, so they will be doing the pickleball courts as well. Riverview Park and the park signage, both of these projects were approved by City Council in April. I gave a little bit of an update on the park signage where we had gone around and did the tour with the consultant, and they've taken pictures. Before council this coming Wednesday will be a draft of a logo with coloring and then a draft of signage that we're proposing to start to move forward. If this is approved, we'll advance to the stage of preparing a document to go out to bid to sign companies to continue to advance with this. And our consultant is currently working on a build-out schedule of how we would replace our signage over the next three to 4 years, including this year. The Riverview Park Master Plan project, our environmental technician met with the consultant. GAI is doing park signage and Riverview Park, so I'll lump them together. But our environmental technician met with the consultant last week, and they went around and did measurements of trees, the electrical outlets, the amenities within Riverview Park. So they are starting to, proceed with that as well. I know they will be scheduling a stakeholder meeting that you all will be invited to come to, and then we'll include stakeholders that hold events within Riverview Park. So they'll have a say and kind of get some input as we continue to progress with the master plan for that park. Mr. Pichelle had brought up the basketball goals at Schumann. We did complete, we replaced all the bracing on the back of all 4 basketball goals, so that portion was complete. Mr. Sunnycab had brought up some stormwater park concerns, and we removed an old staircase that had some concerns on the walking trail, and then also the benches throughout the park. They were all straightened up and repositioned. Some of them were relocated within the park to better areas. Pickleball, we have received all permits. I've been speaking with the contractor. I spoke with them via email today. We're still looking at a mid-July start. What basically happened was with our permitting issues, we got bumped back in their schedule a little bit because they were moving forward with some school projects that they had to start as of the end of the school year around June 1st. So they had proceeded to go ahead and go forward with those projects due to our permitting issues. So now that we're on path, all the permits have been issued. I expect us to get started sometime in mid-July, and they're going to hopefully provide an update within the next week or so with a more firm date, and I'll send that to you all once we have it for them to start clearing the land. Athletic fields, we're continuing to work at the baseball fields and the football fields as you all have requested, updating Little League and also the football program with all of our plans going forward with those fields. Sometimes, once we come out there, the field conditions can look a little worse, but the football and baseball programs are aware of what's taking place, and we're working closely with them to work around their seasons. And I know we've got a little bit of a break coming up with baseball, so it's going to give us an opportunity to continue to improve the baseball and softball fields there at Barber Street, and also start to get things ready for the fall tackle football season as well. And the last thing is one item Mr. Renzi had brought up regarding Friendship Park and the light lens. We were initially given a 6-week time frame for delivery on those lenses. However, they still have not been delivered. We have been in communication with the company. They had a slight delay with some back-ordered product on it. However, those items we do expect within the next week or so to come in, and as soon as they're in, and our staff is ready to pick up the lift, and we will have them installed.
Thank you.
So that's an update on the current projects that we have going on.
We're going to start with Mr. Denise, with any questions for Mr. Benton?
No. Very good presentation.
Dr. Agudello?
If I may, just to propose something, as far as the baseball fields go, there's a lack of a warning track on all the fields. And the reason that that's an issue is because it usually is a safety precaution for the most part. It's about 10 or 15 feet for everyone else, about 10 or 15 feet between the grass and where the grass ends and the fence starts. That way, under your feet, as you're looking up for the ball, you can kind of feel the change in the ground, slow down a little bit, and avoid running full speed into those fences. So I'm not sure if there's room in the budget for that this year, but I wanted to at least get the ball rolling on it for future.
Thank you.
Mr. Renzi, are there any questions for Mr. Benton?
No questions.
Mr. Webster? I have one question. Once the actual new signage is going to be adopted for all the city parks, will that be the same one that's going to be on the website going forward too? Or would the emblem for the website change at all? Or
so if you look behind you, we're basically based our logo off of the same logo that we currently have. The logo is going to stay the same. It's just basically the color palette that we're looking to have council approve.
Okay.
So that's what will happen at that point, and then it will be adopted throughout our parks. It will be adopted on our website as far as parks and everything goes. At that point, it'll be up to the rest of the city whether we adopt it throughout the city.
We're also going to be using it. We're also have a wayfinding project that we've been working on in the CRA district along the river, so that people can find where the parking spots are, where the things are, the amenities are. There's going to be a whole wayfinding down US 1 in that whole area. And so the goal is to try to make it, when you see that sign, you know it's City of Sebastian. I know that the Pelican and that has always been synonymous, but we have so many renditions out there and different color palettes, and so you don't really know what's what and where everything is. So the wayfinding signs are going to help you find the parks. It's going to help you find the amenities. It's going to help you see where things are and bring more cohesiveness to the downtown or the waterfront district. And hopefully we'll spread that through the city.
Right, thank you. Next item, would that be all, I should say, for item A? And the next item is item B, board openings. So the board openings now should be complete. now?
Yes, so Chair, I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention that we do still have one board position available. We have one alternate position available. So if you all know someone who's interested in serving on the board, or if the general public would like to serve on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, we have an alternate position, and they can get an application here at City Hall.
Okay. So the next item is going to be the board committee member matters. So this is something where we normally go, well, this is designed for the board members to just speak about something that they have seen or want to talk about going forward from something that they saw while out there visiting or touring throughout the city, or speaking with someone also. So we're going to start with Mr. Renzi to see if you have anything about the board members matters.
Any particular thing I've observed, you mean?
Anything's on your mind you want to talk about, it's time's designed for you to talk about it.
Oh, okay. So I do have one question concerning Riverview Park, which I see you've taken over from Sunny Cal.
Yes, but if you want to.
I just, the sidewalks are a little cracked and offset. When you're walking in there, there could be a little problem. Is there anything on the agenda in the future to patch up the sidewalks?
So one of the items that we're doing this master plan, and then we're going to take a look at the entire park, and sidewalks will be included within this plan that we're currently doing with our consultant.
And just so you're aware, staff does go in there and grind any trip hazards and that, so we want to make sure we keep it as safe as possible, but there was a plan to replace an entire walkway, which I don't think was a viable plan. That was just way too expensive. There's several sections of that sidewalk, maybe a different color, but it's not broken or cracked. But and that's one of the reasons why we stopped people from driving into the park, was because the vehicles and the heavy trucks were damaging that, and the trees. So that is addressed. We received some money from the Clam Bake to help address the sidewalk issues in Riverview Park, and part of this Riverview Park master plan will help work with that, Mr. Benson.
Yeah, I noticed that some of it is, I guess you'd call it sanded down, to kind of even it off.
Yes, sir.
All right. That's all I saw. That's it.
Well, I don't have anything tonight. I didn't have a chance to get to my park. It's been kind of a crazy season. Should be normal now. So that's it.
Okay. I know you guys are new. Would you want to say anything, or you guys are?
No, I really haven't talked to anybody on that, because I didn't know what the process was, and I wanted to get my feet wet. Truthfully, I'm a better listener than talker, so when I do like to listen to people, and I don't know if the average citizen knows about these things, what we can do to get the interest. Most of us have our own special interest that we like, and that's what our interest is. When I was younger, it was tennis. When I served on this board the first time, it was trying to get tennis things done. But at my age now, truthfully, I'm just enjoying life. But I like to find out what the people need, and if you could help me with that, I'd be glad to listen to people and then get into good open discussions about what our needs are.
Okay. Also, again, this part of the meeting, I mean, at some point in time, you may have had contact with someone in the community, and you can just speak about that gathering, or you can speak about the park or whatever. So this time in our, this point of our schedule is designed if we have had a good encounter or whatever in the community. So not only for the parks, if you have an experience somewhere within the city also. Could have been a phone call that an idea came in your head, or it could be something while you was out walking or in Walmart. Someone could approach you and just recognize you from being on TV. So it could be anything, not just a park. going forward. So, I mean, I'm not trying to put any you guys on the spot, but you guys may want to say something, but I acknowledge you guys being new and everything. I just want to make sure you know the floor is open if you want to say anything.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. And I haven't had an opportunity to get out there to my parks, but I will at the next meeting. And I will at the next meeting. So, I'm going to probably give you back a few parks too, because I see I got quite a few here. But other than that, I didn't want to overstep you, Mr. Odego. You have a question about anything?
By the same token, I don't want to overstep with Ms. Webster with the Barber Street Sports Complex. I understand it's your park. But just a couple things that I've noticed. A lot of good improvements on the basketball courts that I've noticed over the years. But one thing that hasn't changed much is the walkways right next to the courts. They're grass, and they get worn down a lot with the foot traffic, so a lot of the sand that remains under that grass and the dirt gets onto the courts and prevents a huge safety hazard for anybody playing on the courts that are already kind of a little bit smaller, so they got to play a lot on the edges. So a lot of sand collects, and a lot of people I've seen slipping out there, and it just creates a real hazard. So that's just something I've noticed at Barber Street for the last few years.
I mean, I don't play basketball. That's helpful.
Mr. Benson, so is that something that we can, or the staff could look at to be able to see if they can possibly, like Mr. Adago says, it's kind of like you're playing off the surface and you're not onto the grass. Is that something we can, or the staff can look into to see if that little portion could be extended out?
Absolutely. We'll take a look at it. I'll have myself and a staff member, we'll go out and take a look at the courts and the surrounding areas, the walkways from the parking lots, and we'll take a look at that.
And that will fall up under what, improvements also, or safety?
Well, let us take a look at it and kind of see what really is the issue or what's going on there, and then we can make some recommendations at that point.
Okay, and thank you.
I know it's well used.
Oh, yes,
basketball courts,
especially during the
really
football season
well
as well.
used,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, that's what wears down the grass. There's so many people out there, because I've seen it a couple times, like tended to a little bit, but after a few days, it seems like it just gets worn down and becomes dangerous.
Okay, if there's no further matters from the board members, our next meeting is for July the 22nd. Will everyone be able to attend that meeting?
I should be able to, yes.
I'm not going to attend that meeting.
And I'll be in North Carolina.
Okay. I have to look at my schedule. So if you're not able to attend, you can give Mr. Benton a call or an email, and then he'll be able to know if we're going to have enough for the meeting also. Okay. So if there's no further question, this meeting is adjourned.